Hello, this is Marian Pena coming to you from seemstobeso.com. Today I'm continuing with my series on fabric libraries and electric quilt. This series is designed to show you not only how to install them, but some tips and some tricks to help guide you to use the libraries and possibly expand beyond the default palette. If you had a glance at the first lesson in this series, it covers just the 2016 install of the fabric libraries from Electric Quilt. I took you to doyoueq.com and I took you to the fabrics of the month where they always are for downloading. Let's get this little window out of the way. These are the 2016 files. This is the month of February. Even though today is March 1st, they're not even awake in Electric Quilt land yet. This for me is, I'm in Italy, so it's 3 p.m. my time. It's probably right about 7 a.m. or so for Electric Quilt land. These are the 2016 downloads, and these are the older library downloads. They go from December of last year all the way to January of 2010. So there's quite a bit of fabric here for you to download, and most of these libraries have up to 100 fabrics each. Not all of them, but a great deal of them have up to 100 fabrics in each library, and that's 6 months, so there could be up to 600 fabrics for you to have a look at in each library. Okay, so they explain here also how to install these libraries. Electric Quilt does this by linking. There are two ways to install these libraries, and what I don't think they always make so clear is what happens the following month when you download a new library and you have new fab files to then have to install. So that's what I'm going to also show you today. When you click on linking the libraries, it's going to show you a video of how you do this. My guess is that I haven't ever clicked. The Mac also has a video, so this works out well. In the older versions of I don't want to say versions because that's a little confusing. In the older downloads for fabric libraries on the Electric Quilt site, we downloaded the .fab file, which to me is short for fabric. And it is right here. There's no difference between Mac or Apple this time like there is with the 2016 files. I'm using Firefox, and each browser is different, but as you can see, this fab file is 16.7 megs. So it'll take a moment or so to download. Okay, maybe it won't. I have a little extension installed that allows me to see my downloads here. When I used Google Chrome, I really loved that feature and I missed it, but Google Chrome no longer works on my desktop for some reason, and until I reinstall Windows, I'm just going to continue to use Firefox because it works great, and this add-on is a pretty nice add-on. So you could also share that you downloaded to the various social sites. You know, you can let your friends know by emailing them. And back, I always want to say in the olden days, it wasn't that old, it's only a couple of months old, but back in December, each of these months, as you if you downloaded every single month, the library, they just continued to grow. As you can see, they go from July to December, so each library is 6 months full of fabric that they offered in these libraries. So there were a lot of fabrics that you could download, and each month the little fab file kept getting larger and larger. So you would notice that difference, and you would have to overwrite them. With the new way of doing this, because they're splitting these into a monthly library in a different way, you won't see that as much. There'll just be one flat file, and instead we'll have 12 files to download for the month instead of, coming back. Even though we could come back here each month and get the new one, you still are downloading the same one and you're overwriting it. So that's the difference between then and now, is that you would have to overwrite the same month each time. And that can be confusing, I'm sure, to new users. So in this respect, this is a nice new way, and it's easy, fun, and fast. I really like it. But I'm going to show you the biggest thing I don't like. So we'll get on with that in a second. Once you have downloaded your fab file, and let's say you don't have any fab files whatsoever, you should feel free to go ahead and download all of them. It will be much easier to do if you install them all at once, but you could do them one at a time also if you chose to do so. I'm going to download a second one really quick because I need to show you this technique for what happens when you download, let's say, a .fab file someone has shared from a project they're giving you. Sometimes they might want to give you the fabrics that go with that project, and even though the fabrics would be included in a project file, it may be that they're sharing their fabric palette also. They only have to share with you the .fab file and the .pj7 file. But like I said, if the fabrics are in the project, they won't need to share the fab file with you. Fab files can become very, very large especially when you're creating your own libraries. You'll find that, wow, they just rack up the points in that file size very fast. That's why Electric Quilt also warns you about you only putting 250 fabrics into each library because of the file size itself. Okay, that file has downloaded. Obviously, I'd already downloaded the Web 25. It was in my cache, so it just automatically went faster. And the Web 24 was not. So the next thing we need to do is open up our file manager, because we need to work now in Windows File Manager. If you're in a Mac, this is going to be different. And I'm sorry, I don't know Macs, but I'm sure there's some way of getting those files into the folder where they need to be. In Windows, to open File Manager, in Windows 7, in Windows 7, you can right-click on your Start button and choose Open Windows Explorer. If you don't have that option on your Start button like you would in Windows 8.1, then you would go to your search feature, which is up in the top right corner, I believe, where in the window which has all the icons for your applications and such. It's on your desktop, but it's like blue background with all your, I don't have Windows 8.1, my husband has it, and the search feature is up in the top right corner. You just type in there the word Explorer. You could do the same in Windows 7, you could do it in Windows Vista, you can do it in Windows XP even, as long as you have the search bar. And Explorer will open in all of those operating systems. You just need to be in a file manager. Windows File Manager looks something like this. in Windows 7. When it opens, mine always opens usually to the favorites or something like that. Maybe documents, I forget. Libraries, it opens up to libraries. And so automatically I'll find my documents folder. And this is where we want to be to install Electric Quilt. Now I don't want to get you all confused or anything. So I'm going to just veer off the topic for just a moment and say that by default, Electric Quilt will install your extra folders to the documents folder to a folder called My EQ7. And you can place all of your different libraries and such in here, or any files, any projects, so that you can keep track of them. However, when you first install Electric Quilt, if you see the option and use that to change the path of where those files are going to be installed, then your path is not going to be under users, and you should already know where that path is. That's my situation, and I never know how much I regret that now that I'm doing tutorials, because it makes it so that I always have to explain that, and I apologize for that. My path is in what I call C:/archives, and then in EQ7. As you can see here, this is mine, and it is under an archives folder. So this is what mine looks like, and yours is going to look about the same if you have other add-on files, like if you've bought any of the add-ons from Electric Quilt or from some of the great designers on their website and such. You're going to have these folders also. Folders that I made are this one. I don't recall making any of the others. I know this one and this one were made last year sometime when EQ's Electric Quilt closed the designer site and put it on their own site so that I liked that, because everything was all in one place and you didn't have to remember another URL. And so I appreciated that, and they made it better because they combined it so it just goes to a few folders when it installs, and it's a much nicer install. I'm much happier with it, so it's all good. So anyway, when you install monthly libraries in the old way, you need to make a folder. I made one called Fabrics, and I put mine in here, and it's called Monthly Library Folders. As you can see, these are all of my folders in that library, and that's all of the files from 2010 to December of last year. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to make another folder, and I'm going to call it monthlies. I'll just call it monthlies. And you would do the same if you were in your user folder. And then I'm going to go to my downloads, and I'm just going to put this one in here for now, because I want to show you what happens when you add a second one, because you'll need to know this for the tutorial that is next, which involves downloading fabrics to add to your palettes or your libraries. Okay, so I think I copied and pasted it, so I still have the other one. It's a habit for me to copy. As you can see, this was 55 megs, this one is 16, so they're much different, smaller sizes, and that just means that January to July has more fabrics in it than what July to December has. And that's just the basic difference. So I'm now going to show you what happens when you come into Electric Quilt. You want to open Electric Quilt, get past all your windows. If you're still getting the tips window, you want to excuse that. You can cancel out of the open a project file window and just go to libraries, because we need to do the linking of the library. Linking is a good thing. please don't get me wrong here. I think it's a great thing. Without linking, you can't make a folder that says these names in the normal libraries. You have your library where you can do it on your own by just creating a library. But if you want your library to show up here, I would prefer that all my libraries be on one spot, if you want me to be honest. So I'd rather have all the ones that I have here in here also. And I could do that, and I might eventually do that. But for now, I'm happy the way it is. But when it was the old way, these are the old libraries that I have currently installed. As you can see, it has a nice way of showing us how they all show up. This is the 2016 libraries. What we want to do here is we want to link the library. So we're going to click on link the library, or link library. We're going to click add because we're going to manually add this library. And I'm going to type in monthlies here because I already have this installed. And then I want to browse to the folder where it's at. And so I'm just going to copy and paste my path. Get out of here. And paste it into the window. Now when I browse, it'll take me right to it. So that's pretty cool. Even though I wouldn't need to browse to it, that's what it will do. So now we click OK. We click on close. And it will make our monthly libraries folder. And as you can see, they're all right here. Now what happens when we want to add the next one? Unless you want to make a new one, I don't know how to explain this, and I don't know how other people did it, but if you're new to the computer, or if you don't understand paths and stuff, you know that you should be able to just take this file and create and just put it in here. And it should just show up. You do have to close it, and it's like a refresher. You just need to reopen it, and it will just show up automatically. You do not need to link it again. Okay, so you just need to keep that in mind. When you're first creating a new library, you put in your one fab file, or maybe all 10 of them, okay, however many you have, and thus you then are able to just add to them the following month. You just scooch that fab file into the library that you want it to go to. If you know it's going to monthly libraries, then you just put it there. A perfect example of that is Connecting Threads. Connecting Threads is a website that is a shopping type of site, and they make .fab files. They are the only ones on the web that I know of creating a .fab file. Boy, I wish I knew how they were doing it. I would kill to be able to do it myself. But anyway, they have all these libraries, all these wonderful libraries. And what they do, just a sec, I'll go to that website. What they do is they create the fab files on purpose, in my opinion. They're showing us what they have in, what's in stock, what is new, and whenever they get a new kit or new download, they create a new fab file. So whenever they get a new bunch of fabrics in, here comes a new EQ fabric download. They are the only ones offering EQ downloads. Folk Blossoms is the newest collection. I believe I already have downloaded this to show in my examples. Images. Okay, it's here, so yes, 274. You can always tell because I'm looking at the bottom up in the Firefox, which reads the link in the bottom left there, just above where you see the finished downloads. And you can download these files to your hard drive then you can take and you can unzip them. And then you would just, like you did with your monthlies, you just drop it in to the folder for connecting threads. Okay, and you can see the name of is Folk Blossoms. It's now going to show you Folk Blossoms. Isn't that cool? You just drop it in and that's that. And I made this folder in the very same way that you do monthly libraries. You create the folder in monthly libraries. You could download all the zips from their web if you chose to do so. And then you just unzip them to that folder. I keep a backup copy of the zips should I ever need them in this folder, and it doesn't ever affect anything. So consequently, you still have backups of your zips if you want them. A lot of people just tell you to delete them. I have deleted too many things that I wish I never had. So I don't delete files unless it's time to delete them. So I'm just going to move this into my zips folder. See, I already have a backup. And thus, I have my backups and I have my fab files. I can see all my connecting threads. And as you can see here, this is already linked through the magic of linking. So you only have to link once. And then each month, you would just go to connecting threads and see what's new. Every time they get new fabrics in, they add to that page. So it's a page you want to keep track of because it moves very fast. And every month they'll have new downloads. Sometimes you can go 2 days in a row and they'll have something new. So, I mean, if you want to be manic about it, I guess, or obsessed, you could go. But the one thing you want to keep track of is that you can get too much fabric. It is possible. So, and the more fabric you load into EQ, no matter how many libraries are separated, the slower EQ will become. Mine is already starting to drag just a little bit. But it's not bothering me yet, so I'm fine. It's cool. Everything's good. So that's the basics of how to do that. And the only other thing I will tell you that I did is I like to keep all of my fabrics in the one folder. Now, when I want to get rid of a folder or get rid of the fabrics, like I'm going to want to get rid of this one, what I need to do first is I need to come to the link library and I need to delete that library out. If you don't do it, then EQ is not going to like you very much, and when you open it, it's looking for that folder and it will act like it's trying to reinstall Electric Quilt. So you want to be sure that if you're going to move a folder that you've linked, that you remove it first. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to highlight the library that I added, and I'm going to remove it. And yes, I want to delete it. As you can see, it's gone, and it's also gone from here. Okay, so that gives me permission now to move this folder, or just delete it. And that's what I'm going to do, because I don't need it there. And like I said, if you have add-on libraries, this is where the new 2016 libraries are. And it's just putting the fab files right here. If I wanted to get real crazy about this, I could move them down here to my monthlies, because this is where I'd rather they be. But I'm not crazy yet. So we'll see how the time goes. But you know, this is a good solution, because this is a folder that's already there, and most of you probably have it if you downloaded the free designs that they offer through the website from the store also. So you probably already have these folders, and you can leave them there that way. So I want to let you go because this tutorial is already longer than I planned for it to be. And next time I'm going to show you how to deal with the JPEGs that you can download from the web. There's quite a few websites that offer web JPEGs of their fabrics for you to download and put together your own fabric libraries. So that's the subject we'll touch on next week. Bye-bye for now.